Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's bright and early daily discipline, mind, body, and soul. This is how we get through Sunday. Let's get into our study group for warriors, for my hardcore heads. Some of you just want to sleep in. Go sleep in. Who needs you? Some of us are up studying. I study every day. We're going to do our Sunday study group for warriors today. That's how we get down every single Sunday. Basically, I just go through my notes. I take notes on the things that I study. So let's just jump into it. I got a bunch of pages. Maybe we get through one or two. I got some soft music going. Let me turn it down so it doesn't distract you guys. I got some incense burning. What do we got this time? Lily. So it smells like flowers, apparently. Burning flowers. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I kind of sense that one of you does. One of you out there needs this. I needed this earlier in the week. Matthew 28. God talking. I will be with you always, even until the end of time. Don't forget it. Let's go to the next one. Here's a bit of advice. Don't be afraid of anyone. No one, no human, no man. I don't care who they are. I don't care how tough they are. I don't care how scary they are. I don't care if it's a terrorist or a gangster or a politician. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Mike Tyson or Bin Laden. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if it's some muscle-bound monster. I don't care who it is. Don't be afraid of any man. Only God. Only be afraid of God. That's it. How do we deal with problem people in our family? Now, this is from Jordan Peterson. You know, I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan. I listen to a lot of his stuff. And Jordan Peterson says, when you're dealing with problem people in your family, the first thing you should do is give them no more personal info. Stop talking about yourself to them. Don't tell them how you're doing, what you're up to, how things have been going, what's new, what you're thinking of. Nothing. What latest projects you have, nothing. Don't tell them stuff. Don't tell them anything. You just shut your mouth. You just listen. Listen to what they say. You don't tell them nothing. You don't offer anything personal. And you just listen to what they say. You shut your mouth and listen. You may need to read between the lines. And they will reveal to you who they really are and what they really think of you. It'll be quite obvious. And you'll know pretty easily right there of how to move forward. Now, me personally, I don't care who you are in my family. I don't give a fuck who you are. If you don't treat me right, gone. X'd out. You don't exist no more. That's easy for me. Here's the next one. Maturity is sacrifice. I think it's also discipline and commitment. Sacrifice, commitment, and discipline to me, in my head, without having a dictionary around, all kind of sound like the same thing to me. They're all in the same family. Sacrifice, discipline, and commitment. That's what maturity is about. Instead of hedonistic pleasure seeking, thinking that your life is supposed to be about being happy all the time, like some kind of nut. You end up like the Joker if you're happy all the time. The things you could focus on, a mature man focuses on, isn't video games and porn. No. It's not millions of dollars and helicopter rides and private planes and fame and wealth. It's not that. The mature man thinks about his family, his God, and his people, his faith, his folk, and charity. Faith, folk, and charity. Let's move to the next one. So the liberals are kind of having a breakdown right now, and I was studying childhood development. and how specifically to handle temper tantrums of kids. And there's different age groups that have temper tantrums. And I read somewhere that the mentality of Democrats, even though they think they're quite educated and they call everyone stupid and garbage and deplorables and that kind of thing, they really do look down their nose at you. They've been equated to having the maturity level, speaking of maturity, of a 7-year-old. 7. So, how do you handle a temper tantrum of a 7-year-old? Well, you have to stay calm. You don't join their tantrum and you don't try to match their energy. You just stay calm. You praise their positive behavior so they know what direction to go in. You set rules and you punish unacceptable behavior. You do not allow it. That's unacceptable. Not in this house, not in this country, not in this town. We're not going to do this anymore. You have to teach coping skills. You have to give them some lessons, some ground to put their feet on. Now, a little kid who's having temper tantrums, who doesn't want to listen to reason or snap out of it, even if they do get punished or spankings, then you may have to seek professional help. What else are you going to do? If you're going to kill your kid, you got to seek professional help. So these little temper tantrum liberals may need to go sit on that psychiatrist's couch. You may need to call your shrink back up and reschedule some of them appointments. And as a parent dealing with a child who's having a temper tantrum, you don't ever give in to their demands at all. You don't give in to their demands. And we're not going to give in to any demands of liberals. That shit's over with. Personally, I'm in this mode right now of love it or leave it. You guys support Palestine? Go the fuck to Palestine. I'll buy you a ticket. Here's some advice. When you meet a swordsman, draw your sword. Don't recite poetry to one who is not a poet. You need to hear that again, don't you? There's someone out there who needs to hear that again. You weren't paying attention. Pay attention, motherfucker. When you meet a swordsman, draw your sword. Do not recite poetry to one who's not a poet. I think that's a good quote. There's a lot in there. I won't hash it out with you, but you can think about that for the day. Here's an honest question that I was pondering. You notice how some people are, what do you call them? I guess I would call them tech people. And I don't mean that they're Silicon Valley people like Mark Zuckerberg, although he may be one of them, but people who like technology. There's some people who don't really vibe on technology much. They're not really technology people. Sure, maybe they have a cell phone or a computer or something, but they're not into the latest gadgets. They're not following the latest tech. They don't really care about robots or AI or anything like that. And I'm kind of like that. My brother's the opposite. My brother loves technology. He loves gadgets and the future and all that stuff. I'm not so into the future. I'm not so into push-button convenience. I'm not so into the vision of utopia that a lot of people have. The vision of utopia that a lot of tech people have is a technological future of convenience where we don't have to actually do anything anymore, where our species, the human species, can somehow just give up on work or suffering or survival or anything. We don't have to worry about that anymore. We've conquered it, right? This is the ultimate. We become gods. Living in heaven. Isn't that what utopia is this heaven on earth recreation where anything you think of just magically appears in front of you? And it's always spread by these tech people. They're the ones who want utopia to be a bunch of machines doing everything for us all the time. And what I wonder, just being a guy who lives in a small town who does manual labor for a living, what I wonder is why is this utopia of you guys, why is it so hedonistic and pleasure-seeking? Why is hedonism and pleasure-seeking the end game? Why is pleasure your highest value? And it seems like a lot of people who are interested in technology and the future and that sort of forward movement with society, they're not only utopians, but they're atheists, and they want to turn themselves into gods, like gods who live on Mount Olympus. You want to be Zeus. But it's funny because all I see is someone who values sin. Isn't hedonistic pleasure-seeking and making that your idol, having that be your God, isn't that a sin? I was going to tell you, it'd take me too long. I was going to tell you my father's view of heaven. My dad told me one time, right before he died, he was murdered, 1991, in a gang war. And he told me his vision of heaven. He had a vision of what he thought heaven was. And it's not anything I could have ever imagined. But I'll get into that another time. It'll take me far too long to explain that. Here's a question, philosophical question. We think we're pretty smart as humans, right? We're the smartest creatures on this planet, so we think. Can we solve any problem? Or are some problems unsolvable? Look at that airplane out there. They have a flight school nearby, Embry-Riddle, I think it's called. They got these little white planes, and they fly them all over the place all the time. This flight school is not famous, but it did get some publicity once, many, many years ago. The terrorists who flew the airplanes into the World Trade Center in New York City, 9/11, they had to learn how to fly. They didn't want to learn how to land, but they had to learn how to fly, and they learned how to fly right here in Daytona Beach at Embry-Riddle. Let's go to the next one. Do we have any time left? We'll do one or two more. Faith is speaking the truth and seeing what happens. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Here's some Jordan Peterson stuff, and I love Jordan Peterson. Be a killer who can control himself. And that's a message that I wish I would have heard when I was younger, because I noticed I had a killer in me, and I hated it. I despised it. I was horribly ashamed and embarrassed about this side of me, this monstrous, evil side of me. And I couldn't control it. I didn't know you're able to control that. I thought you're supposed to expel it, to purge it out of you, to get rid of it. And I tried and tried and tried, and I would whine and moan to my therapist. But I just wish I wasn't like this, and he would naively help me to try and not be that way, to try to not be a monster. But I wish I would have had someone like Jordan Peterson tell me to, no, don't get rid of the monster. Don't get rid of it. You need that. Just conquer it. Tame it. Integrate the anger and aggression. Don't purge yourself of it. Have that monster be your helper. Let me make this the last one. Find a good one. This is a tough one. Ponder this. As you're getting stronger, you may need to think about this. Could you leave someone behind to suffer their own consequences, to suffer their own misery? Could you leave them in order to move on with your life and to save yourself? And you may be faced with that dilemma at some point. You can't save everyone. Some people don't want to be saved. Food for thought. Have a good Sunday.